Well, folks, here we are again with another great success story. And, of course, along the lines of what we've been talking about recently, well, I should say for the last 40 years, this is a youth solution. And as you saw with the email we sent out to invite you to the call, we have a longtime friend, Ken, who is now 69 years old. And boy, is he staying young. So let me just bring him on and let him tell his story from the beginning. And maybe you'll all find some good stuff that he's done in his life that'll keep you much younger. So Ken, come and tell everybody what's been going on.
Hey, Anthony. Thanks for inviting me.
Sure.
I was introduced to the Matol product back in 1990, so that makes it 33 years. A friend of mine dropped it off at my farm. I, at the time, was pretty heavy into dairy farming, and this friend didn't really know if I had any health issues I was dealing with. I hadn't seen him for a while. He asked me if I knew anything about herbs and the power of healing, and I didn't really know a thing about it, but on his word, I took the bottle and took some that evening, and I think it was the third or fourth day. I had pretty good reaction to this. I was dealing with shoulder impingement, and I was kind of treating. I'd seen a doctor, a surgeon, thought it was time to do surgery on this, and that I wasn't too sure about that. So
how old were you then, Ken?
Early 30s.
You were in good shape, yeah. Okay.
But, you know, the day-to-day life of farming can be tough on things like that. So my personal physician told me that surgery would create some of its own problems, and maybe you could just keep taking the anti-inflammatories. And I was also a tennis player at that time, and that was not working out too well with tennis. It would aggravate it. So he told me just to keep going with it. He even said, you know, you could switch playing hands with the other arm. Well, I didn't really do that, but I think I gave it up for a while. And then this friend dropped that bottle off, and it seemed to help improve that. Apparently it had something to do with the inflammation. So time went on, and I was pretty happy with that product, and so I kept taking it. Was maybe that first year I was, well, what can I do to help my health? So I started looking into maybe eat healthier, and I always found it really important to make sure I have enough water, and so I got to the point where I don't really leave home without quality water. But farming was always tough. I was looking for something that would release some of the stiffness, and so then I got into yoga too, way back then. And I got back into tennis too after my shoulder basically repaired itself. From there, you know, a lot of years went by. We had two boys and, you know, raised those guys, and eventually they went off through college. And one of the things that came along too was using a trampoline. A lot of people don't realize your lymphatic system doesn't really have a pump like a heart does. So that fluid needs movement. So I have like a high-performance trampoline in my downstairs, and that seemed to be a good something to add along with taking the tonic all these years.
You have a trampoline in the house?
Yeah, like a 4-footer. You don't really need, you have to be a little bit careful not to go up to the ceiling, but
that's what I was thinking. All right.
Yeah, so a few minutes on that. I guess they claim it's comparable to walking miles, so that's more about the movement. Time went on, and eventually I was in a partnership with my brother on the dairy farm, and he's 8 years older, so he wanted to get out. And so then we sold the dairy, and that was kind of a transition. I was only 47. We split the acreage, and so then from then on, it was a crop farm. And so then I was able to it's seasonal, so I had more time. And there was a time where my mom was ill, and we had hospice in, and I thought that was pretty cool that, you know, people came to our place. So I thought if I ever had time, that's something I would do. And so I volunteered doing that when I was crop farming and did that for 10 years. And I learned a lot about, you know, I had always the question of what that passing is like. And I think that only inspired me more to take care of myself too, because we're not really here for all that long. From there, I continued to still be pretty physical about my work, and, you know, I guess the COVID thing kind of got away from doing the yoga, and then I pulled a hamstring in tennis, and that took a while to heal, but still taking the tonic, and eventually got over that.
So you were drinking the tonic throughout all those years?
Yeah, and I didn't really supplement much of anything. but grew our own garden and just felt that's a good plus. Funny thing, the kids are in college and take frozen broccoli or, vegetables and, in their dorms. They would share their food, and they always reported back that their buddies always knew when, they'd ask, is that from your dad's farm? Or, it's just...
They waited for the package to arrive.
Yep. It kind of got to be the thing. And so it does make a difference. There again, the tonic is really good, but what can you do, take responsibility for the food you put in it. One thing I realized, too, is food has like a vibration, and obviously the tonic is, at a high vibration. The food you put in your body is that way, too. So I guess the question is, do you want to enhance what you're doing by taking this tonic, or if you're going to put junk food or processed food, it's going to have to deal with that, and you're limiting what the tonic's doing for you.
Well, I think if everybody could eat the correct kind of food all their lives, there wouldn't be any need for tonic.
Yeah, possibly, I guess. I wouldn't go there myself, but it's been such a trusted, we're going to be thrown curves all through our lives, even feel pretty darn healthy, but I know there's always a possibility that something's going to happen, and I want to be able to navigate through that as fast as possible, or kind of think like you're more resilient. Somewhere along the line, that was like 5-6 years ago, I had a appendicitis attack, and never been to the hospital for anything, and I was not feeling too good all week. Friday night we went out for a fish fry with some friends of ours, or after we played golf that afternoon. So I wasn't, my stomach was just off a little bit, and had a good fish supper and afterwards, and I actually felt the best I'd felt all week. Well, Saturday morning came along, and I woke up and had a fever, and I got sick. But then, I didn't really understand what was going on, but I kind of blew it off, and maybe I took more tonic too, and well, the day went on, and as the afternoon came, I was like, well, I don't want to be up all night, so maybe we should go in and, have it checked out, and talked to a few different people, and got there and went to the emergency area, and they kind of checked me over and I didn't have that much pain, and so then eventually took x-rays, and that came back positive.
That was your appendix.
Yeah, so then I kind of half-kiddingly talked to the doctor. I said, well, you're going to schedule that for first part of the week? And he's like, no, the surgeon's on his way, and we'll get this done right away. And, well, it turns out when I was back the next day and met with the surgeon, and real nice guy, and he said, well, that was quite nasty. That was a bit more nasty than I thought it'd be because, you weren't really under that much pain, but it didn't burst. But if it would have went longer, that would have been the next thing. And, yeah, I'm very happy that we have that medical field. So you have to be always somewhat careful, and I pretty much don't expect that to happen, but stuff like that can happen.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful.
And you're right, we have a wonderful, wonderful surgeons. So all in all, that's about the extent of any illness you've had. You've been always in pretty darn good shape.
Yeah, occasionally muscle pulls. I think that's part of, if I'm going to play sports. And, at this stage, I still expect to perform at a high level. And this spring I had a tight, they call it an IT band. And that kind of took me for a loop. I was limping around on that thing for a few months, good part of the summer, and saw a massage therapist and work on it. And eventually it got better. I lost a lot of strength through it. I think that eventually bounced back. I tried playing tennis maybe a little too soon, and it just wasn't what it was before. But now it's been months later, and kind of a funny. So what do you do to help strengthen that? And I came across a guy that talked about walking backwards, and he was talking about how it strengthens your knees and lower body or your lower back too. And I've had, with all the farm work, had to be somewhat careful with that. But so then it wasn't just walking backwards, then you eventually pull a skid with weights on it. So here I am walking backwards up and down my driveway, and fortunately I've got trees along my driveway, so it's not so visible, but it's made a difference. That would be a recommendation. It seems like we walk forward all our lives. When you walk backwards, you stimulate different muscles in a different way, or those same muscles. It's kind of a balancing thing, and you can actually get pretty good at it with practice. Kind of like the yoga thing. I haven't always done it. The headstands just come to me so easily now, and I just feel so stable in it. It's not a problem. So I like to project out too. So what would it take? What's it going to take to get in our senior years? And I don't call it I'm at senior, but 80s, 90s, and plus 100. I totally believe the tonic will be a part of that. There are probably other things I follow a little bit. Well, when I pulled that hamstring, I was looking for a magnesium oil, and there is magnesium in the tonic, but maybe not at the level that I'd heard about magnesium, how important it is. And I came across this Carolyn Dean, and she wrote the Magnesium Miracle book, and she just had a lot of good information on how important it is to get higher levels of it, and she actually developed something that you could take higher doses of. Well, within that, then I started looking, there's more information on vitamin D and how important that is. And I'm in the northern part of Wisconsin, so we don't get all that much sun exposure except for a few months out of the year. So up until, I think, the last couple of years, and that's just because, too, that's become a lot more popular with science has got more understanding about, what we do need. And so I tend to do more of that, but still, I just mix that in with the tonic. And so it's all just kind of a slow progression. And I've kind of played around with extending my fast, don't eat breakfast right away. And a term that came along there is they claim it helps clean up the metabolic garbage. And that just kind of stuck with me.
If you do what? It cleans up the metabolic garbage.
Yeah, if you just extend your fast. Maybe.
You don't eat breakfast right away in the morning.
Yeah, and I tend to eat eggs. It's kind of funny, how things change. One time eggs weren't, they were kind of poo-pooing on eggs. I guess find what works for yourself. But, at first when I extended my fast, I noticed I maybe was a little lightheaded. And if I was going to work, driving tractor or combine, and I still farm about 300 acres, so that's not really the time to be doing that. I mean, you need your wits about you, and so you have to kind of keep that all in.
You need energy from food. You need energy derived from food.
Yeah, and I'm not like overweight, but I'm at a good place, and I guess there's other things I kind of follow, like eating the good fats. I got onto the coconut oil and maybe not as many carbs. I used to eat like maybe 3-4 sandwiches a day, and I just got away from that.
You just moderate everything now.
Yeah, so it's a little more in balance.
Yeah.
I know you've talked about the tonic itself is that balancing effect on your body and how important that is, because we can get to extremes, from we overwork ourselves or whatever. The body has got abilities to adapt.
I tell people at my age that I have a far more youthful body. Yeah, I could probably lose 5 pounds, but that's about it. I've never been heavily overweight, and yet I'm a meat and potato guy, and nevertheless, I don't eat much junk food. I eat good food, lots of vegetables, and I like the gravy and all the rest of it, but yet I still don't get fat, and I can eat 2 plate loads. If your body is balanced, and I think that's what the tonic does over the years, it just keeps it in far better operating mode. And that's seemingly what seems to have happened to you, besides the fact that you're careful about the food and you like to add other things that are noted to be very good for the body. I do the same. I mean, I take a multiple vitamin at least once a week type of thing, just in case. Maybe I don't need it, but just in case.
Yeah. The guy, whoever said, well, you're just going to have expensive urine, I mean, that they didn't understand back then. And I kind of like to think of it as a smorgasbord. You pick and choose what you want. Well, give your body the opportunity to take what it needs. And if it doesn't need it, okay, then it's gone. But at least isn't it our job, or isn't it up to us to give it the opportunity if it does need it, and then not overburden it by putting a bunch of junk in it? And kind of comes down to what do you want? What do you expect from your body? Do you expect it to perform at a high level, or don't you care? And that kind of goes with the tonic. It will perform at a high rate.
Well, the tonic will indeed do that, along with all the rest of the good stuff you mentioned. And, as we're talking about vitamins and so on and other supplementing so you have better health, I remember I was born in Quebec in Canada, and my dad started his preparation business back there in the 1940s. And in those days, he was a member of something called the Vitamin E Society. And they believed, he and the other people believed, that extra vitamin E was really great for the heart. And it was a secret society because it was illegal to sell vitamin E. It was illegal.
Really?
It was against the law. So they had a secret society. Imagine. That was in the 1930s and 40s.
They had to hide it.
Yeah, hide it. And, of course, you know the story of dietary supplements. Medicine business, the way it's practiced today, has tried to put the dietary supplement out of business for 100 years, you know. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Ken, I just wanted to make sure that folks understood why you are staying young. You are staying young because you're looking after your body in many ways, including good food, good sleep, and so on. However, you tear a strip out of it. I don't know. I've never driven a combine, but I don't think it's a piece of cake. And if you're going to be driving it half of the day or all day, or I don't know what you have to do 7 days a week, you got to have a pretty strong constitution and good health and energy and so on. And you've done all that over all these years, and you're 69. And folks, I sent that video of Ken out in the email prior to this call, so go back and have a look at it. I don't know anybody else at 69 who can stand on their head. So I know I can't. Well, mind you, I'm a little past 69, but I just thought that folks have to hear that you're just a normal, everyday person like everybody else.
Yep.
You work hard. In your case, you work even harder. It's strenuous because farming is a strenuous business. But you've managed to look after yourself and change what should be changed and clean up your diet and so on. And I hope that message resonates with folks. If you drink the tonic, everybody, it's certainly going to help you a lot, but boy, oh boy, all the rest of the stuff will do miracles for you.
Mm-hmm. If I could say one thing, I would like to also keep making younger friends, because I think if you keep taking this tonic, you're going to need more friends because you'll be alone. So
you'll be older, but you won't have very much in common with the older folks who are not drinking the tonic.
Yeah.
I'm 85 now, Ken, and I find that I cannot talk to anybody who is 80 years old, except the ones that are on the tonic. We had a call not long ago with 5 or 6 octogenarians on the call. They were jumping up and down and full of vim and vinegar, but most people starting in their 70s, they slow down an awful lot.
Yeah, I get that. I just had a class reunion, our 50th high school class reunion, and gosh, they just don't seem to have, there's something missing, I think. And then there's also those that aren't even there anymore. So, it's not fun. I do some auto racing too, sports car racing.
Talk about that.
It's not about being first. It's really pacing yourself and enjoy where you're at.
That's strenuous, and it takes a lot of mind control and strength and so on, and carefulness and ability, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. And to do this road racing, Road America is just 20 minutes from our home. So, yeah, it won't allow you on the track until you've had a physical stress test. I don't have really any problem having that done. It's just kind of a nuisance, but that's just one of the requirements. And, yeah, I passed that. I think they said it was like 95%. I don't know where that 5% went. If 100 is the top, I guess I'll go with that.
Yeah, Ken, there's probably not very many your age who are racing.
Yeah, I seem to be one of the older guys now.
Yeah. Well, this is a youth solution, so it's keeping you young. Do you have anything else you want to add in there?
We have grandkids now. It's really cool. We kind of dictate our lives around visiting them. They're out of town. 2 are in Madison, which is a 2-hour drive, and the other 2 are in Minneapolis. It's maybe 4 or 5 hour drive, but we'll go there for the weekend, 3 or 4 days. And I guess the one thing I really get from being with grandkids is it kind of stimulates your inner child, the child within, and also, you're there for a few days and then you're off and can't wait till the next time. Well, it's a good place. And like I said, we cherish those times, and I imagine eventually, as they get older, I think maybe the grandparents aren't as important as they are now, but maybe not. We'll see. But we ice skate. I was downhill skiing last weekend. They're 1 through like 6. It's just it's an important thing.
Well, I use that all the time, telling folks that if they were on the tonic and make it a lifestyle, that when they are older and they have grandchildren, they can still get down on their knees on the ground without breaking a bone, And
exactly.
being more supple and being able to do things like that, to me, is like all important. Some people, if they're on the tonic long enough, when they have great-grandchildren, they can still do that.
Yep. Your health is pretty darn important. What's it worth? How does it go? If you're going to invest in anything, your best investment is your health. And I guess the other part, I've shared enough that I'm on auto ship, and that's kind of a no-brainer, and you get the discount and pretty much drink it for free. So
share enough bottles with enough people that you end up actually drinking for free. Yeah.
Yeah, and the people you distribute it to, they're happy that you're able to do that. And I don't know, I feel good that I can share it that way, and it's kind of a service, in a way.
It absolutely is. It's a part of our pay it forward, help thy neighbor, and so on. And when you see folks who are withering away in all kinds of poor health, you got to give it your best shot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But as with you and tens of thousands of others that have stuck with the product over the years, I talk to people like you who have been drinking it for 30 and 40 years all day long. We've got many, many folks, and they all say the same thing as you do. They feel better, they feel younger, they can get down with their grandchildren, and they don't go to the doctors anymore, and they don't get colds anymore, and just all around great health, which of course makes for a much better quality of life. You are one shining example, Ken. Let me tell you, when I saw that headstand there, I started thinking, maybe I wonder if I should try and do it myself.
Well, go slow.
So maybe when I'm 95, I'll be doing it.
Yeah, I started in my 30s, so...
Oh, I have a long way to go, right?
One other point, I don't broadcast this, but it's kind of funny. The tennis pros, there was two guys that I've kind of worked with, and I don't know how they got going on it. They'll introduce me as, like somebody else. Oh, you got to meet Super Ken. and it's just so, it's kind of embarrassing at this point. I'm like, I'm not super. There's nothing super about me, but those guys just, they know that.
But they recognize that you are much healthier and stronger than people normally are at your age.
Right. And I see that with my competitors, which, when you're in a league, it's pretty much your friends. You're not really that cutthroat, and they don't ask me anymore so much, but they would ask, like, how old are you again? Or you get what you're taking care of yourself, and it must show because they wouldn't ask otherwise, and most of them are younger.
And yet they haven't asked you to put them on auto ship and drink the tonic.
I've turned on a few people, but...
Yeah. They see it.
I don't know.
They see it, and they see the example that you are, and somehow they still think that they're going to skate right by, and only when they're 20 years older they realize maybe they should have started drinking the tonic. Mm-hmm. But it's never too late. You can always improve,
Yeah. One guy, John, I got him on the tonic years ago and went through a bottle, and he didn't want to continue, and now he's in the place of getting a knee replacement. And he admitted, he said, if I'd have just kept going when we started there, it's possible that I wouldn't be having this. But, yeah, it's only a reminder to me when I see that happening. I'm not going to give it up anytime soon.
Well, don't give it up, because we want to make sure that we're still chatting about this and having a good time in another 25
Definitely.
years. And you'll only be, in 25 years I'll be 110, so.
I'll be behind you somewhere, but...
Yeah.
You set the course there, Anthony.
Okay, you hang in close by, because you're on the right track, that's for sure. Really appreciate you telling that story, because, folks, it may be a little long, that story, but it covers everything that's so important, and that's how you stay younger and more vibrant and enjoy life a lot more as you grow older. That's the key. So, Ken, you've done your work for today by sharing that story. I hope people take heed and maybe practice a little of what you've been doing.
Okay. Thanks for allowing me to express myself here. Pleasure being with you.
It's a big pleasure. Thanks very much to you. We will see you on the next call with something exciting. But in the meantime, don't forget, if you take an ounce, you'll feel the bounce. Bye for now.
Urac Classic Whole Body Tonic is a dietary supplement, not a drug. Therefore, it is useful to affect the structure and or function of your body in various ways. But it is not intended to and will not cure, mitigate, treat, or prevent any disease. Individual testimonials may not be representative of everyone's experience and do not constitute scientific evidence. Urac Corporation does not make any drug or treatment claims for its product.